Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you guys like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So this is the 2024 US Senate map. It is basically foolproof for Republicans because they have so many pickup opportunities in states that Donald Trump is anticipated to win or at least compete in. That is Ohio, Montana, Wisconsin, West Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Arizona. All of those states are going to be close at the presidential level, which means that if Republicans do well down ballot, there's a chance they could have a massive Senate majority. And it's very possible that that Senate majority could increase to states that are not exactly states that are going to be going Republican at the presidential level. And one state that Republican leadership is now targeting is the state of Maryland, where they have nabbed their top Senate recruit there, Larry Hogan. Larry Hogan being the governor of Maryland up until early last year. He is running for Senate. A lot of people never anticipated that he would, but he's in the ring. He's not exactly somebody who I deem to be all that conservative, but for Maryland, he's probably the best you can get. I would advise people, if they live in Maryland, to back Hogan for Senate or vote for Hogan down ballot, because yeah, if Hogan, even if he just opposes the filibuster, does what he needs to do, if he's in there, then it's a net positive. He's not somebody who does this whole media ordeal, goes around, just trashes Trump 24/7. He's not as bad as Liz Cheney, even though his voting record probably is going to be weaker. He is a rhino, make no mistake about it, but Maryland is not a state that would ever elect any Republican. It is a state that is filled with a lot of far left Democrats in the state, and that we know, which really brings the question, can Larry Hogan even win, even though he's running? Is this a race Republicans should focus on, spend money on, spend energy on? Because a lot of people are wondering, well, he won the governor's race twice, so can he win at the Senate level? You're going to find out, but first I have to let you guys know about one of our latest sponsors over at Aura. Because we live in tumultuous times. Foreign organizations are targeting more than just our servicemen and women. They're targeting all of us. And Aura is an all-in-one digital safety tool that can identify these data brokers exposing your info, and they can submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do, so let Aura handle it for you. It's a US-based company with 100% US-based customer support staff that's available 24/7. And Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats you can't see. They also offer credit and identity monitoring, antivirus, VPN, password management, comprehensive parental controls, and more. So you get everything at one affordable price and the peace of mind knowing that plans include $1 million of identity theft insurance for each adult, up to 5 adults in a family plan. So go to aura.com/redeagle and get your first 14 days free. It's a product that I trust. So guys, we are back. And this is very interesting. Larry Hogan running for Senate. A lot of people didn't think he would. He's running on a message of, I'm going to oppose the, status quo of both parties, but he's not running in like an anti-establishmentarian way of doing so. But the real question is, can he win? Because this is something that needs to be asked. Because a lot of people will start pouring their time and money and resources in this race automatically just because they say, well, Larry Hogan was the governor. He won elections in Maryland. Therefore, maybe he can win the Senate seat. And it's so much more complicated than that. Winning Senate elections in states that have like opposite party lean in presidential years, especially because midterm years like 2014 or 2010, in Illinois, Republicans were able to catch Democrats off guard. You had a senator that was leaving. There was a whole scandal involving the governor, etc. Mark Kirk was able to run, and in a lower turnout midterm than even midterms today, he was able to go out there and pick off the Senate seat. But we see in the past popular Republican governors in blue states and vice versa, by the way, running for Senate, and they don't do so well. And you look at 1996, Bill Weld, who many people might remember being Gary Johnson's running mate in the Libertarian Party back in 2016. They may remember him trying to primary challenge Trump and get like 1% of the vote, and then he dropped out after New Hampshire, where I think he did a little bit better because it's more of an open primary. But still, Bill Weld was curated in a lab to be the best possible Republican candidate for Massachusetts. And even then, back in the day when we were less polarized, where these seats were more likely to flip, Bill Weld fell short by 7 points. So while his margin was, narrow for a Republican in the state, he still lost to John Kerry by 7 to 8 points. And even when we see Republicans in a state like this pick off a federal election, like in 2010, Scott Brown, it was a low turnout special election. It was not even a midterm. Scott Brown won in the state of Massachusetts. And Scott Brown, I believe he did endorse Donald Trump in 2016. He was not exactly this rhino pushover in total. He had to be liberal on some issues when he was running. Of course, we know that, but still, his voting record, especially on something like immigration when he was in the Senate, was actually pretty good. And he's a lot better than Larry Hogan would be if Hogan was to get in the Senate. But still, 2012 rolls around. Elizabeth Warren, we know she's not really all that strong of a candidate. She underperformed vastly in 2018. But in 2012, even then, she pulled off a 7-point win over an incumbent. Now, it is true that in the 96 election, John Kerry was an incumbent, but still, you could point to a lot of different examples of people running for Senate in a state that usually is safe in the other direction, and they don't exactly do all that well. It takes something massive for that to really happen. I mean, we see this all the time. Like, technically, you might say some of those Great Plains states back in the day, 2012, but even then, North Dakota, Montana, high percentage of third-party voters, and those states were not nearly as red as Maryland is blue. At least they weren't at the time. Now, in the era of Trump, they've gotten a lot redder, and that is true. But still, you're looking at this. This is not really going to be, in my opinion, all that of a winnable race. It may appear to be competitive on the surface because Hogan is well-liked. That is true. And if he's the nominee, I think it might have positive down-ballot effects for Republicans if he does well. I know he is a rhino, but it's Maryland. I mean, the person that's going to vote for you or vote with you 40% of the time even, and that's kind of a low estimate. But if you have a Republican in a state that is D plus 30 that votes with Republicans 40% of the time, doesn't do the whole media circus tour, yelling about how Blumph is evil every 5 seconds, then yeah, it's worth having them in that position, kind of like Susan Collins in Maine. I'm not going to waste all of my time and resources trying to primary out Susan Collins in a Biden plus 9 state when I should be trying to primary out a lot of these rhinos that have the same opinions that Larry Hogan does, but represent states that Donald Trump won by 10, 15, 20 points. It's called pragmatism, and that we know. But still, you're looking at this. It is true Democrats are probably going to put up a weak candidate. This is an open seat. David Trone, he's not usually regarded to be all that strong, but still, is he really that vulnerable? We saw one poll, I believe it was a Trone internal in the general election, that showed Larry Hogan actually beating his opponent, but also had Trone beating Hogan by 15. Now, I think 15 might end up being the final margin, which for Maryland is pretty good. And maybe there would be some positive down ballot effects. Maybe Republicans could get an extra congressional seat out of the whole ordeal as well and get a solid representative in a blue-leaning swing district because the down ballot effects might, carry over a little bit. But still, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not one of those people that's like, no, we have to oppose Hogan at every step of the way. It's like we have more important things to focus on. We have a lot of rhinos to oppose in a state like Utah, plenty of other Senate primaries. You could possibly primary out Pete Ricketts in Nebraska and replace him with an actual authentic conservative candidate. The state party is attempting to do that right now. But either way, I don't care that much, and I will be very upset if all of these neocons in the Senate start pouring money and throwing money at Larry Hogan instead of other people that are actually solid in swing areas that, obviously need the money a lot more. This should not be a high priority race. Hogan should not be getting money from the NRSC. But if he's on the ballot, I'm not going to complain about it. If he wins, fine, great. It probably means Republicans are having a very good night, and he's not going to be all that consequential. The majority's not going to be dictated by Larry Hogan himself, but still, it is a stretch to say he wins. I probably give it a 10, maybe 15% chance of happening right now. Obviously, things can change, but still, it's unlikely to flip. It might allow for positive down-ballot effects if he's the nominee. It also may allow for, Democrats to pour more money in this race than they need to, which frees up funding for Republicans at least to have an advantage in places like Montana, Ohio, Arizona, Nevada, Michigan, etc. But still, he's not going to win, and, if he's on the ballot, he's on the ballot. It's probably good because he's on the ballot. He probably will lose, and we'll never have to hear from him again. And that's pretty much my take on this. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Red Eagle, out.